Do you want to travel Timbuktu? Visit twinsleveltravelsun.com. Planning a trip to Walt Disney World can be overwhelming. That's why you need the expert planning services of Casey Lucas at TravelSense.com. TwinSouthTravelSense.com. Casey will help you plan your perfect trip. He'll help you find the right resort, fast pass, dining reservations, and even look at typical crowd levels to ensure the best vacation possible. And the best part is his services are complimentary with your travel package. Visit TwinSonsTravel.com today to book your vacation and enter promo code War of Stars in the comments to receive a free gift with your booking.
You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Hello everyone and welcome to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I am joined by John Mariano. How are you doing today, John?
I can't complain so far. How you doing?
I can't complain myself. I got a little cold, but I'm getting over it, so I'm working through that. But I'm definitely glad to have you on, and I think a lot of other listeners that are about my age, and you know, if they've got their kids watching it, would appreciate having you on too. The first thing that I would like to do is maybe have you kind of give us a little rundown of what you're known for, like what kind of stuff you've done.
Oh, my resume, eh?
Well, I guess, not the whole thing.
just some points. Well, probably most notably. Yeah, see, I slubbed it myself. Most notably, I guess Animaniacs seems to be a big fan favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably would be known for that. I worked on Animaniacs, which just celebrated its 26th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in the series. I did a number of different voices in the series. Most notably, there was a section called The Good Feathers, and I played Bobby, which was the lead pigeon. Bada friggin' bing over here. And depending, I guess, on what generation, I mean, I've done shows like Sunny in Philadelphia was another show that seems to be really big in rotation, and I've done some work on that. Done a lot of sitcoms, also done a lot of dramas, you know, mostly guests, some reoccurring. Sopranos, you know, is another one that was, you know, those are those shows that kind of like have had some staying power over the years. Much older generations would, you know, remember shows like Married with Children.
Right. Yep. I used to watch that
Blue.
One.
Yeah, you know, like I did a lot of shows back in the day, like Married with Children, Who's the Boss, NYPD Blue, LA Law, West Wing. Those are some of like TV shows back in the day that I did a lot of.
Wow.
I also did a lot of cartoons. You know, I did, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Batman, Superman, a lot of the Warner Brothers stuff, Animaniacs, of course. I did some
you're
stuff
just
on
all
Pinky
over
and
the
Brain.
place.
What's that?
I say you're just all over the place.
Well, you know, as they say, an actor likes to eat, so he's got to work.
That's fair. That's fair. What do you do in between when you're not acting? What do you do in between?
Wait and worry.
That's fair. So do you prefer doing voiceover work over actually being on screen?
You know, that's a question that's often asked, is like kind of like almost like what's your favorite role or what's your favorite job or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to work in general. I mean, when you're doing voiceover, the benefit of that is that you can do almost anything your voice has the ability to do. In other words, when you're on camera, sometimes, you know, you're harbored with the way you look because that's just your type and your casting. You know, your height, your weight, your age.
Right.
Sometimes your ethnicity. You know, you're going to play certain roles. But when you're doing voice, like I said, 1 minute, you're a pigeon, and the next minute you're a wizard casting spells. So it doesn't really. You have that kind of freedom that sometimes on camera doesn't offer you. But then again, on camera has its benefits. So I kind of like it. I know it sounds rather hackneyed, but it is true. It's like I really enjoy whatever it is that I am doing at the time.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
So.
Do you have anything going on right now? Anything developing or something you're working on?
Well, yes. However, we're living in an age right now where, full disclosure, we're not permitted to talk about until
right.
It's long released, especially in the world of video games and stuff like that. We are bound by what is known as an NDA, non-disclosure agreements, and it's like we can't speak about stuff until we get the green light. I just did something a while ago, and I just was allowed to talk about it now, which is the opening of the new Star Wars ride, Galaxy's End, I believe it is, that opened up in the theme parks.
Yep.
I don't know if you've heard about that. Yeah, well, I did some voices for that.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
That was kind of, I felt the same way. It was kind of like, wow, I get to be, in some small way, I get to be a part of not only Disney, but the Star Wars universe. So
yeah.
now I know that, in both theme parks at the time right now, it probably is going to go global, but certainly in California and in Disney World in Florida, the rides have opened, and I know that my voice is playing on a continuous basis as people walk through that ride, so that's kind of fun.
That's really cool. I'm kind of envious.
I'm kind of envious too.
Do you have a role in particular that you enjoyed more than the others?
Oh, that's, again, a tough question. I mean, obviously, I did enjoy doing Bobby for Good Feathers because it was De Niro.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done him for quite a number of years. As a matter of fact, I did him I kind of did him in the very, very beginning before doing a De Niro voice was considered a staple. Now, over time there are voices that become staples in the voiceover world.
Right.
Like a William Shatner or a Christopher Walken or an Al Pacino, or there are certain voices that eventually become staples. But this is like way back, when nobody was doing it, and I started doing it, and I did it in my act. I used to do it in stand-up. I did it when I was with the Groundlings. I did a sketch there many, many years ago, which was De Niro Sings the Supremes.
Oh, I bet that would be fun to hear.
It was a kill bit, it's kind of a slam dunk because it's the music of the Supremes as sung by Robert De Niro.
Right.
Baby, baby, where did our love go? Don't you want me? Don't you want me no more? Hey, so it's like.
There it is. I was going to ask you if that's floating around on the internet somewhere, but now I got it right here, firsthand.
Actually, it is. If you look up, it might be on my channel, YouTube channel, but if you look up De Niro Sings the Supremes, there is a clip of me doing it. I did it as a sketch originally, and then there was a guy who ended up wanting to turn it into a sketch for a comedy show back in I don't know, like the 90s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Troy Miller. He's a very incredibly talented man. So Troy Miller produced, he directed this, and we shot it as a pay-per-view. That's how we shot. That's how the gag was done. So we took the sketch and it was turned into a pay-per-view event. One night only.
Wow.
Robert De Niro Sings the Supremes. So if you go online, and definitely if you go on the John Mariano on YouTube channel, you can definitely see it on there if you have any interest to see the visual of it.
Oh, you better believe I'm going to go check that out. I think everybody better go check that out.
Hit
Oh,
and subscribe. That's what they say. Hit and subscribe.
right? Like and
To my
subscribe.
YouTube channel.
Is there anybody that you would, if you had a choice, they said you could work with anybody, who would it be?
That list is endless. I've been fortunate enough to work with some amazing people in the industry, both what they would consider old Hollywood and new Hollywood. I've been very, very lucky in that respect.
Oh, okay.
Now, a lot of the people that I would probably love to work with are no longer with us, unfortunately, because I'm going back to like classic comedians and stuff like that. You know, if I had a chance to work with the Marx Brothers or Buster Keaton, probably some of your viewers would have to, your listeners would probably have to Google those names, but you know, like Buster Keaton, Jerry Lewis, you know, the Marx Brothers, Abbott and Costello. Those are my teachers growing up.
Okay, I could see. All right, that would be entertaining. I think you'd get along with Abbott and Costello just based off of what I've heard from you so far. So,
well, you know, those guys, those were the guys that taught me about comedy as a kid. You know, because that's the only thing I had. This was long before there was the internet.
Right.
I'm talking about caveman days when the only thing we had was television and radio. So, and when you were only, you know, you only watched what was on, and that was what was on.
Right. So you would say that they were probably part of your biggest inspiration to becoming who you are now.
Well, they were definitely, you know, I mean, it was definitely an influence. I mean, because like I said, that's what I had. Those were my babysitters, you know, all those films.
Right.
From those guys and more, Laurel and Hardy and W.C. Fields and the Bowery Boys, and the list goes on and on and on. Those are some of my influences. And then, of course, the classic Warner Brothers cartoons, Popeye cartoons, you know, all that stuff, because that was what I had as a child. That's what I had access to.
Okay.
So they definitely were. They were entertaining and they were educational in some respects. I would have never learned about a lot of things if it wasn't for some cartoons, believe it or not.
No, that's pretty fair, I would say. They seem like the older cartoons, they kind of wrapped up the humor with a little dose of, you know, lesson to be learned kind of thing.
Well, you know, listen, I didn't know about classical music, nor did I have access to it. But if you watch the old Looney Tunes cartoons, they're just filled with classical music. And that was my first sort of exposure to classical music, which, of course, would lead me to want to discover other aspects of music and such. Mm-hmm. Animaniacs pretty much tried to do the same thing. I mean, they wanted to replicate the style and the feel of those classic cartoons that were geared more towards adults than they were towards children.
Right.
You know, they didn't play down, they played up.
Do you suppose that's why they called it, when they spelled Looney Tunes, it was Tunes? You know,
I'm not too sure. I don't know if that's the origin story.
I ask the hard-hitting questions around here.
You do, and if I was on Google right now, I would give you a legitimate answer.
No, that's good. I like answers from the people's hearts. Anybody can search Google these days. So, you know, we've kind of been talking the last few minutes about kind of things from your childhood and things that, in a sense, sound like they kind of brought you a little bit of happiness and stuff. So let's go the other direction. And was there ever a time that you wanted to walk off set?
Well, there was a time when I wanted to walk off set.
Yeah. Was there ever a time that something or someone made you angry enough that you almost said, you know what, enough of this, I'm out of here?
I don't think I would be able, you know, I was kind of raised where, like, you know, with a work ethic of, you know, I've worked a lot of hard jobs, I mean, straight jobs, you know, growing up and stuff. And, you know, when you're hired to work, that's what you do. Now, granted, there are some jobs that are, you know, just glorious to work with. to work on. People, and the people are really, it's just great. But like in any work environment, some jobs are easier than others. I mean, and that's when it becomes, work. But to walk off a set, I don't think I would, because we spend most of our time trying to walk onto a set.
That's fair. That's very fair.
I mean, we really, as actors, we really want to be on a set. Where we want to be is on a stage or on a set, because that's where the magic happens. That's where the creativity occurs and such, for us anyway. And it's also, working with different people. Now, there's always going to be different personalities anywhere you go, and it's a question of how you can work with these personalities, and that's part of work, is to kind of figure out, okay, well, how am I going to work with this person? Most of the time, I've been very fortunate. There's been some challenging moments or challenging conditions.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
The only time I walk off a set is when they say, "Okay, that's a wrap."
That's good. That's good. I think that's kind of probably lacking in this day and age is a little bit of that work ethic. I think it's kind of dwindled away, in my own personal opinion. So we've kind of gone through and we've discussed the questions you've probably been asked before. But this is the part where I kind of derail the show a little bit, and I kind of want to get to know you a little bit better. So okay. I'm gonna ask you.
Let me get my seatbelts on in case we have a bumpy ride.
Oh, nothing will be too personal. I won't dig deep like that. But I definitely some of these are gonna make you think a little bit. So, jumping right into this head first here. If you had a time machine, what would you do with it?
Well, I would probably check and see if it was running correctly.
That's fair.
I check the time. Now, what would I do with a time machine? I don't think I would make eggs, but I would probably see if I could use it for something, and I would either probably go ahead in time or back in time. Because that's pretty much where a lot of us live anyway. I don't know how. It's very hard to live in the moment, and that's what I'm trying. I'm trying right now. I'm trying to do Friday, but truth be told, my head is going to be either a week ago or 10 years ago, or it'll be in the future. But I would probably use it to try and go to a different point in time.
There you go. I mean, that's the very literal definition of what a time machine would do.
Yeah, I saw the movie, so I know how it's run.
Do you prefer cats or dogs?
Well, I used actually both. I know that sounds like like one of those political answers, but it's true. I like both. I was more of a dog person for quite some time until I was very fortunate enough to be befriended by a feral cat.
Oh wow!
Like they say, well, animals adopt you, you don't adopt them, and there was a cat that adopted me at one point, and I began taking care of this cat, and I just fell in love with the cat, and we were close for a while, and then I began to appreciate, cats. Because, the great thing about a cat is, you don't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and have to walk the cat.
Right, yeah, that's very true.
Oh.
They're pretty self-sufficient like that, so, yeah.
Pretty much. I was fortunate that this cat was very affectionate. Kind of cats kind of, do their thing, and it's like, don't bother me. But this cat was surprisingly very, very attentive and very affectionate, so... I caught a break with that.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a really good cat. Is within legal bounds, are you able to tell me what the strangest thing you've ever done was?
The strangest thing? These are like long pauses. I'm in show business. Everything I've done is strange.
That's fair. I would not doubt that. And the
Uh,
long pauses, it is what it is. I'm asking questions. I'm asking you to think, putting you on the spot. And this is where I think the show kind of shines. You got to think back a little bit and give us a little gem from your memory.
I fell into a kiddie pool of pancake batter once.
I have no idea how to even respond to that.
See, actually, it was for a show. It was a great little show that was done by the Kyoto brothers and Howie Mandel. It was a show called The Amazing Life Sea Monkeys, and we did this one episode where it was kind of like a sort of a parody, the episode of like Home Alone, and I played one of the robbers who were trying to break into this lighthouse, which was the set of the main characters. And this one character who was home alone devised an elaborate plan to thwart the robbers. And the ending of that particular Rube Goldberg-esque scene was, and people have to Google that as well.
Yeah.
Was that a net came down, and me and my partner and I fell into this vat of what turned out to be pancake batter, and we're just splashing around in that, and we were just wrapped up in a net splashing around in pancake batter. That was kind of strange, but it was, like I said, it was for a kids show. The real bad part of it is, this is what I didn't realize. Now, you figure, all right, falling into pancake batter is like falling into like mud or pudding or some kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then came the time to clean up after that scene. And what happens with pancake batter after it kind of dries up, it's as though you have little pieces of gum stuck to every hair on your body. And I remember and the shower that I had to take was a cold shower. And I remember trying to scrape off this congealed, balls of pancake batter that was stuck to my body. It was like a bad I Love Lucy episode.
Oh, I could only imagine how terrible that was. There we go. See, strangest thing right there. It may have been for a kid's show, but that was definitely a strange thing.
It's in the legal bounds. So.
Right. So
keeping it clean and keeping it legal.
So talking about legal and all that, would you say you were a good kid or a bad kid?
Well, let's see.
Sure, it probably depends on who you ask, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we all have our moments, and I've had quite a few of them. I guess, in retrospect, the way you can classify it is, I was a curious child.
All right, that's a good one.
So I almost burnt the house down once, but there was a reason behind it.
Was there a spider?
No, actually, see, this is where I obviously was destined for show business. I had these plastic toys. They were monster toys.
Okay.
And I must have I was easily influenced. So whatever I'd watched, and obviously that's why I guess I got into the business. But whatever I watched, I wanted to do or replicate in some way.
All right.
I must have been watching some kind of a horror film or something. It might have been House of Wax or something like that. But it was one of those movies where like the monsters, like his face was melting.
Oh, okay.
So I tried to replicate that with one of my plastic toys. Now, mind you, I don't have the kind of the special effects that Universal Pictures has, so I had to do it my own way, which was to turn on the stove and hold this plastic toy over the stove and watch it melt, and then make all the sound effects that the monster would make in the movie. And I figured, okay, that's fine,
Yeah.
That's done. And when it was done, of course, I ran it under the water, the sink, and then I threw it in the garbage. But apparently, I didn't do it successfully enough, and the garbage caught fire. The garbage pail, like the contents of the garbage pail, caught fire. And now I must have been like 5 years old. So, it wasn't like college. I was like 5 years old.
Right.
And, the flames started shooting up, and I tried to put it out. I put it in the sink. I added water, and then I figured that was it, and I put it down, and then it started to smoke, and then it caught fire again. And then the flames were starting to shoot up, and they were starting to, they were getting dangerously close to the curtains by the window. And I just panicked, because now I was like, uh-oh, I'm going to get in trouble.
Oh,
so
wow.
I ran down to where my parents were, and I was like, the house is on fire.
Oh my goodness! I'm sure that was a lovely way to be woken up.
I was precocious, if you will, and curious. That's all.
That's all. All right. I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah, well, that's a good price these days.
So you had said prior, when we first started, that you had done some stuff with Superman and Batman. So this question kind of harkens to that. But if you had to choose between invisibility or flight, which of the superpowers would you choose?
I think I answered this question on a dating site somewhere. Let's see. I think when I answered it before, I think I might have said flight, because then it would afford me the ability to go wherever I needed to go, and not sit in traffic.
See, that'd be beautiful, especially out in California.
Yeah, the money I'd save on gas alone would afford me a nice mansion somewhere.
That's good. That's good. So, talking about flying anywhere and whatnot, what would you say was the most interesting vacation you've ever been on?
Well, I've been fortunate that a lot of the jobs that I've done have been locations, most of them in the United States.
Okay.
And for me, that's kind of like a paid vacation. I mean, I love that. I love that scenario.
Right.
You fly out, you work on a location, you're in a different state or country or whatever else. You get to sample the culture, and you get to work. To me, that's like a winning combination. One of the best, I'd say, was I went to Greece many years ago, and that was a really great experience. I was in Athens, and I was also in one of the islands, which is called Rhodes or Rhodos. I was in the Isle of Rhodes, which was just absolutely magnificent. And the beaches were amazing. And I'm not that much of a beach person, but the beaches there are incredible because the sand is like white, and the water is warm and turquoise, and the sky is so clear, and the stars are so bright. I remember looking up at the stars and thinking, like, well, now I can understand where astrology, where the Greeks, decided to do astrology, because the stars are so readily available. They seem like you could almost reach out and touch them. It was just beautiful. So that was like a really great experience.
That sounds amazing. I would love to see something like that. That's great.
Perhaps you will someday, my boy. Perhaps you will.
Well, maybe one of these days. Bang zoom to the moon.
You never know, Alice.
So the last question that I have for you, and you might not even have an answer to this one, but we'll give her a go, is what's the weirdest question you've ever been asked?
Probably that one. No.
That's fair.
The weirdest question I've ever been asked.
I
wish I had.
I think it would probably be, how do you feel about pancake batter?
Well, I don't know if it's weird, but I know how I feel about it. I don't know if it's a weird question, but I remember I was. Let's see. Well, I don't know if it was weird, but it just felt. I'm by background, I'm Italian. My parents were Italian, so I'm Italian by association. And I remember meeting this this girl I worked with many years ago when I was in college, and it's as though she had never came across any other ethnicity. She was I don't know, a white girl. I mean, what's appropriate? White American? I guess is that Anglo American? I don't even know what the politically correct word. I don't know what the politically correct term would be to use, but she was an Anglo American, a blonde girl in nature, and it's as though this was her first discovery. Oh, that was my computer sounding off. I apologize for that.
That's all right.
You have to edit that out. She looked at me and she said, so, you're Italian, right? So, do you just eat spaghetti?
Wow.
That was her question. And I just looked at her and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it. We just eat spaghetti. I eat spaghetti. We have spaghetti sandwiches in the morning. I have a nice bowl of spaghetti and bananas. And, yeah, pretty much that's all we eat is spaghetti.
Wow. That's impressive.
I don't know if it would be considered a weird question, but it certainly was kind of like one of those, huh?
Yeah. I would take that as a definite strange question. I would definitely go that route.
Yeah.
But look, John, that was all the questions I had for you. So
what? We're done already?
Yeah.
No.
I told you we flew through those with a quickness. But ladies and gentlemen, what's that, sir?
I just said I hope I passed the test.
You did all right. B+.
Oh. B+? Oh, it's time for extra credit, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, finish your outro, and I'll say goodbye.
Well, I was just going to say, ladies and gentlemen, this has been John Mariano. So I'm going to turn it over to you for a minute, John. You can tell the lovely listeners where they can go to see more of your antics.
More of my antics? Well, whatever you do, don't come to my house. That's where most of the antics occur. But you could check me out on YouTube. You could check me out on Facebook. And, I'm sure I'm popping up somewhere either on your TV or actually probably your phone these days, but in some incarnation, either in some TV show or some video game, or you might probably hear me in some cartoon at some point, because a lot of the stuff that I have kind of now is in syndication, and it's playing somewhere in the world. That much I can tell you. When, I don't always know, but I'm sure if you look me up, sometimes they'll actually give you ideas of what might be screening where.
Nice. There you go. All right, John. Well, it has been a pleasure, and I want to thank you again for coming on the show and letting us get to pick your brain a little bit and get to know you a little bit better.
Hey, well, listen, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the time. I wish you all the best with your show, and, hopefully we'll be able to talk again sometime.
I hope so, too, and I'll come up with some more doozies of questions for you.
You got it, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Breaking the Fourth Wall. Make sure to keep an eye out for more episodes. Thank you, and have a good night.